Construction Champions. It's your host, Ron Nussbaum, and we're here for another hyped up episode of Construction Champions, where we're blowing the roof off of what it means to be a champion in the construction industry and what it means to own your own construction business. I am super excited for today's guest. Josh, it is great to have you with us today.
Ron, thanks for allowing me to be here.
Awesome, man. Anytime I can get a fellow podcaster on here, as well as somebody that is just out there dominating and helping the construction industry, it's always an honor for me.
I appreciate that compliment. And for me to be on here, Ron, honestly, if I've listened to the show, the quality of guests that you've had on and the content that you're bringing up in conversation, it's a privilege for me to be a part of that pool. So again, man, I'm excited for this conversation.
Awesome, man. So why don't you tell all the champions out there a little bit about yourself and what got you here to today?
Yeah, man. If you look behind me, on the wall, Ron, you see a set of refrigeration gauges, and next to that, you see a tool belt and a hard hat. And those are both my real life tools. I grew up in the trades. First time I held a hammer, I think I was 2 or 3 years old. And literally from that point on, coming from a coal mining family, blue collar family in the Midwest, I was just immersed into this culture of the blue collar and the skilled trades, and started working in the trades for money around the age of 10 or 11 years old, and had all kinds of neat experiences, getting the opportunity to be raised in the trades by some of the graybeards and the old school way has really served me well. But in 2001, I made a transition, went to a vocational college, and got my education in HVAC and became a service technician in the primarily residential HVAC industry until 2013, then went into partner, opened my own business, left that company in 2018, went back into construction. And 2020, January of 2020, launched the Tradesman Experience podcast. And, several months after that, started coaching clients and working as a leadership coach in the skilled trades. And my mission is to elevate the skilled trades through leadership. So that 3 decades of experience growing up in the trades, having things thrown at me, busted my knuckles, learning things the hard way, and being able to translate that into what is necessary for today's leadership is really serving me well. And that's really what our platform, our podcast, and primarily the big part of my coaching business is about. And that's what brought me to you today.
I love it. Your heart is in the right place as you've just grown up throughout the industry. You gave me chills when you said that about holding a hammer at 2 years old, because that's my son. Like, that's what he's experienced. I didn't grow up in the industry. I was actually more automotive, and went to the Marine Corps. And when I got out of the Marine Corps, that's what landed me in construction, as I was looking for that transition. And then I spent over a decade in the industry, fell in love with it. And now I watch my son at a young age wants to work on everything. I love that. So I'm going to ask you the $1 million question, and that is, what makes a construction champion?
I've thought about this question for a while, and to uncover the roots of what I believe in leadership and cultivating teams, I think it's a little bit of a 2-part answer, Ron. I think it's self-awareness and discipline.
Self-awareness and discipline. So do you want to elaborate on, I understand both of those very well, especially being in the Marine Corps. I think let's dive into the self-awareness part.
When people get excited about what they want to do, and whether that's growing a company or building a team, getting into fitness, understanding their finances, creating a relationship, learning a new skill, whatever it is, they get really excited about where they want to go. And I believe that an intricate piece that's missing often in that equation is people don't know where they are currently. And if you look, I'll give you a quick analogy here. If you get your phone out and you open the map, the first thing that asks you is, where do you want to go? The second thing it asks you is what your location is, and it reverse engineers multiple options, kind of charts a course for you to get there. But without that piece of information of where you are, that map is useless. It can't chart you a clear course. So I think having a sense of hyper self-awareness, it all the way from, taking personality tests and understanding how you're hardwired. And when I talk about personality tests and hardwiring in leadership, to me, it's very simple. We're all hardwired to process information and emotion a certain way. You and I are hardwired differently. There may be some overlaps, but we're hardwired differently. We're going to process information and emotion differently. You need to understand that about yourself. You need to know why you react emotionally the way that you do. You need to know how your experiences, upbringing, and beliefs shape your perspective and shape your lens of the world. You need to know how your body reacts to different foods, carbs, proteins, and having that, again, that really intimate level of who you are and how your mind works and how your body works. I think that's so crucial into getting the opportunity to chart the course and achieving the success or the goals that you have.
I love, man, we have some alignment here, because this is one of the things I believe was a defining moment for me in my career, was when I finally just kind of realized who I am and who Ron is, and decided to lean into that. There's a lot of struggles that happen when you don't 100% understand that. So I love that we talk all the time about the vision, where we're headed, how to get there, but we don't really spend a lot of time talking about where we're at right now and who we are. And there's a lot of power in that. I personally have felt that, and felt the transition myself into becoming the leader I am today, because I was willing to dive into who is Ron. So I love that the way you look at that. So we're definitely in alignment. I talk a lot about that on other podcasts when I get interviewed. Like, that was a defining moment for me. So when you go in and you help guys start to uncover where they're at, what are some of the big red flags that you see?
When I work with companies, it's very simple. The way I explain it is, your company is a direct reflection of you, which means what you're really good at, your company is really good at. And what you suck at, your company really sucks at. And when you look in the construction industry and residential service companies and so on, a lot of times the identity or brand of the business is solely built around the craft itself. And the identity of the leader or the owner revolves around the craft itself. They don't learn how to sell. They don't learn how to look at a P&L. They don't understand. They don't even know what an overhead operating sheet is. They don't know how to communicate. They don't know how to team build. They don't know what culture is. They don't know how to properly hire, interview, and onboard. They know their craft. So every decision that they make supports their belief, and that's how they try to build a company and build a team. I love that people are masters of their craft and want to bring that to the marketplace, and they want to create an experience for the client. And I'm so fortunate that the people that I work with are already hungry for that information, right? My screening process is pretty small, because by the time they get to me, they've been humbled. They have a pretty good sense of awareness, and they're looking for ingredients to add to their recipe to build success.
That recipe for success, I think that's something we're all always chasing. And when you say you brought up and I'm just unpacking, you said a lot there, but you said a lot of things that resonate with me. Is your company will suck at what you suck at, and we're all really, really good tradesmen. Like, we're good at what we do, and we lean into that, and we can lose sight of everything else. So I'm taking it, that is where the discipline starts to come in.
The discipline is just consistency over time. And there's a lot of, I mean, depending on how deep you want to go into discipline, but discipline is also kind of a reflection of the internal narrative, in my opinion. You know, what do you say to yourself when you're winning? What do you say to yourself when you're losing? What are you bargaining? You know, when the alarm goes off in the morning, are you already bargaining how you're going to spend your time? When you decide to not eat correctly or meal prep, are you bargaining to go through that drive-through or stop at that convenience store? That discipline comes into play with that internal narrative and the consistency in the actions and behaviors that you have to drive that success. And I think success is, everybody has their own definition of success, and I believe that, but I think success is driven by behavior, and that behavior has to be supported by discipline.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. Is that the more we can lean into discipline, the more success we can have. Now you brought up a couple of times fitness and diet and all of that. So that's not something we typically dive down in here, but I find very critical for my life. I think that was another turning point, is when I decided I was going to take care of my body and my mind, and actually treat myself like the athlete that I am. I might not be out playing football or basketball, but what we do is an athletic sport, whether you're a CEO or you're out there actually
Yeah.
in the trenches doing the work. So I'm taking it that's very well connected to what you teach and what you preach.
It's 100% connected, because I think one of the best ways to change and improve your mental state is by constantly changing and improving your physical state. And discipline comes into action before emotion. Just do it. Just do the work, and give yourself permission to fail. Give yourself permission to, if you can't give 100%, which we can't give 100% 100% of the time, that's not sustainable, but giving yourself permission to still do what you need to do and accept the fact that, okay, it's not 100% today, but I still moved the needle. I still went through the necessary motions. I didn't start to bargain with myself. So I think, you know, and fitness, it can be defined in so many different ways. And man, again, I'm excited about this conversation, Ron. So if I start to ramble, like, reel me in, okay, and then and interject anytime. But I don't care if people go to the gym and lift weights for 2 hours a day. I don't care about that. What I care about is people putting themselves in a clear, controlled failure physical state, that they're challenging their body. Maybe it's elevated heart rate. Maybe it's a 15-minute walk without the distraction of a phone, right? Maybe it's combining that with, okay, I'm going to stop drinking soda, sugary drinks. I think that exercise can be defined in a way that complements you and your lifestyle, as long as that complement is challenging. I go to CrossFit. And I'm a little hesitant to say that, but I will tell you, I'm probably the most CrossFitter, because I think there's a lot of things that they don't do correctly, and it ends up with people being injured. But what I like about it is it complements my lifestyle. I can step into the building. It's a 60-minute workout. Everything is programmed. The only thing I have to do is put on my gym clothes, put on my shoes, and do the work. I don't have to think about anything. So that complements me. That's why I like it. So I think the concept of exercise and fitness is understanding, how are you fueling your body? Are you eating for pleasure, or are you eating for performance? And what are you doing outside of the realm of your daily tasks and physical activities to challenge yourself just a little bit more?
Yeah, because I mean, at the end of the day, what we put in our bodies is what ends up happening. So, like, if we have this huge vision, we understand who we are and where we want to go, and we have the discipline, but we treat our body like crap.
Mm-hmm.
We're drinking soda all the time, or we're the ones closing down the bar every night of the week, and then we're like I don't understand why my business isn't thriving. Like I have all of this. I think it's a very critical component that a lot of the construction industry, we just kind of like put it over here in the corner and
Mhm.
don't want to talk about it. But it's very critical to when you look at the guys that are successful, they're treating this like they're a professional athlete. And there's a
Mhm.
reason behind that.
There is, and I appreciate, that observation that it does need to be talked about. If you sat outside of if, in your town, if you go to the local liquor store and you park there starting at about 3 o'clock, and if you were to sit there till 5, the amount of construction trucks that you see pull in and out of that liquor store every day, it's concerning, it's depressing, and it really should bring up the question why. And I think part of it is, one is the identity, right? As tradespeople, we're supposed to be tough. We're supposed to be beer drinking, whiskey swilling, fist throwing SOBs. And it's part of the identity. And so I think people really get wrapped up in that concept of it. And then that identity fuels their own narrative. I think the second thing is, when you don't take care of your body and eat correctly, by the end of the day, you're exhausted, you're sore, you have severe inflammation. So what do we do to numb that? We drink. And so I think it's this combination of identity and kind of pain suppression that we use, because I've done it, Ron. I've drank. I didn't start drinking until my mid-30s, and I feel like since then I've drank enough to where I'm pretty much over it. But I remember like laying floor all day, and by the time you get home, you can barely stand up straight. It's like, well, I don't want to work out. I don't want to take a walk. I want to drink until the pain goes away so I can take a shower and go to bed. It has such an effect on our physical health, our mental health. It derails us from discipline. It really distracts us from self-awareness, because again, it's fueling this false narrative that we have. So it's just, again, back to the self-awareness and discipline. It's like, if you want to be a champion, and I love that you use the champion. My terminology, Ron, is monster mentalities. If you're so certain, so aggressive, so assertive about what you want and who you want to be, that it scares people, that, to me, that's being a monster. And I think it takes a lot of those two things, discipline and self-awareness, to be a champion.
Yeah, and when we talk about the drinking aspect of things, because I've been there, I've been on the road, I've been
Mhm.
out there, and you work all day, and then you close the bar down, and you show it, you're back at it the next day, and it's this cycle. But I think what we don't think about as leaders is like that's the precedence we set.
Mhm.
So when things go awry out there and you're not on a job site, or you have crews out places, as you grow this and stuff starts to happen, like you said, your business is a reflection of what you do. So if you have a bunch of guys that are out hanging out at the bars or the liquor store or at Applebee's until 2 o'clock in the morning with the crew wearing your guys' uniforms,
Mhm.
that's because that's what you used to do or still do to today.
Agreed. And I appreciate that segue into leadership, because people need to understand leadership has nothing to do with position. Leadership is simply influence through behavior. And if you look at the natural hierarchy of humans, people don't follow weaker leaders. Ron, if you're a level 7 leader and I'm a level 6, long term, you're not going to follow me. It doesn't work. It's the hierarchy of human survival. It doesn't work. You look at tribes, you look at history, it doesn't matter. People don't follow weaker leaders. And if you're hypocritical, right? If you're expecting excellence, if you're expecting your team to be champions and you're behaving in a way that contradicts the things that you're saying, you're losing your leadership, what I call leadership equity. You're losing leadership equity with your team, and eventually they outgrow you and they leave. See, people, if you have someone leave a company, if you got a construction worker, if you got a framer that leaves company A and goes to company B and is still a framer, they didn't leave because of the job. They left because of the leader or the culture. People leave leaders. And when people leave you for $1 an hour, which is $1 an hour is only $2,000 a year, Ron. It's only $2,000 a year. If somebody is leaving you for a $2,000 a year pay increase, that should be a clear identifier as to the quality of leader that you choose to be.
Yeah, and at the same time, we sit back and we say, "Oh, well, I just don't understand why John wanted to go over there and work, and we can't get anybody to come walk through the door here today." And then
Because they're not attracting anyone. Their behavior repels quality people. High performers require high performing leaders, period.
and when we look in the construction industry, who the best guys I've ever known, all the guys in the construction industry, they want that. Like
Mhm.
they want the discipline. I think one of the reasons that construction worked so well for me out of the Marine Corps is I wanted that discipline, I wanted that structure, and I wanted an environment where I could just go be the absolute best. Like it was rewarded. Like
Mhm.
the more intent you did stuff, the stronger you were at doing stuff, the more you learned, the more it was rewarded. Like we create that environment, and then sometimes we just decide, oh no, we just want to participate a little bit in that. When
Mhm.
a high performance culture is what wins in the construction industry.
The high performance culture will weed out the people that don't belong there, and they will attract the people that do. And as a leader, one of your responsibilities is to provide opportunity, plain and simple, because high performers want to know what's the next thing, what is expected of them, what is the opportunity. I'm not talking about just more money. Money is actually farther down on the scale than a lot of business owners believe. What people want, and what all of us want, Ron, we want to feel valued. We want to be acknowledged. We want to be appreciated, and we want an opportunity to grow and develop ourselves to become better. And as a leader, that's one of your responsibilities, is to create that opportunity for your team.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. If you're bringing people on and you have a vision of where you want to go, you better be ready to carry them along with
Mhm.
you because that's what they want to do. It's why they're there.
Mhm. And one of the things that I've learned that was a really, really good lesson for me in the coaching aspect and working with companies, equally applies to leadership, is you have to meet people on their level. And there's a lot of different coaches and people have their own style. I have my own style. Ryan, I'll tell you, I'm not everyone's cup of tea. I'm more like a glass of bourbon. It burns going down and most people can't take it because I have a very abrasive and abrupt and like direct, like, let's get shit done. You're not paying me to hold your hand and cradle you. Like, I'm going to hurt your feelings, but we're going to get things done. And but I think it's necessary for leaders and or coaches to meet people on their level, because I think leadership is pulling, not pushing. And if you are constantly behind your team pushing, as opposed to meeting them on their level and then pulling, which pulling you can elevate people. I think leaders need to understand that. Coaches need to understand that. And that's how you start to build that trust and how you start to develop that culture in these companies as a high performing leader.
See, I believe everybody should have a coach. It's why I have coaches on here. Like, because everybody's different. And I
Mhm.
think we get too singular. Like, the construction industry is so big. Like, there's so many different people out there, different personalities. And I truly do believe in collaboration. Like, if we just came
Mhm.
together and figured out what was best for that contractor, that builder, that home service provider, how can we create a win for them? So then they can create a win for their customer. That is what we need to be doing as people that service the industry. It's why I want to introduce guys like you to everybody out there, because everybody should have somebody that they're going to and saying, this is where I want to go. How do I get there? And not everybody's going to be a fit. So I love that you say that, because that's how I believe with
Mhm.
coaches, period. Personally, business, you should be around people that are pushing you to the next level or pulling you to the next level, whatever it takes. You need to find the person you relate to that can do that for you.
A coach is just as important as a CPA, but you wouldn't hire a CPA to work with you in your construction business if that CPA had zero construction understanding or experience. You want someone that's going to complement you, challenge you. All right. I don't care about your comfort zone. That you can get in your comfort zone when you go to bed at night. I don't care about that. But you need people that can complement you and challenge you. And there's multiple people. I think every single company needs a coach, being one, since we're talking about it. 2 is a CPA. 3 is an attorney. 4 is a good banker. 5 is an insurance agent, and 6 is a bookkeeper. That's 6 people that every company needs to have on their team behind the scenes. The capacity at which those people play is going to be dictated by the size or the volume of the company. But those 6 people need to be kind of the Wizard of Oz's. They need to be behind the curtains and helping the business owner and the leader make strategic calls.
And I think the key word you just used was strategic, because it's really hard to do it. And as we continue to grow and unlock different levers, like it's important to make sure you have the people strategically around you that allow you to know, or just, I like to say, just open your eyes to stuff that you don't even know is a possibility. When you start talking bookkeepers, accountants, CPAs, bankers, insurance, coaches, like that is stuff that will not just help you grow, it will help you protect what you're growing long term.
I like that perspective. I like how you worded that, being able to protect, what you're building long term. When I work with clients, Ron, my goal is to get them to outgrow me. What a great that's the greatest compliment my client can give me, is to outgrow me. And, as a coach and playing in that, and my approach with my clients, Ron, is I don't want this to be a coach player relationship. I want this to be, I want you to look at it as I'm on your team. And so I'm going to help you make strategic decisions. I'm going to be a soundboard. You can call me on a Saturday when you're on a ledge and you're thinking about firing someone. I want to be a part of your team. And that's how I approach with my clients. I'm like, I don't want you to think that I'm separated from you, that I haven't experienced these same things. Like I'm just a piece of this puzzle that you're putting together to develop this successful company. And me just getting to play the role that I play, it works well for me because I'm staying in my lane. I'm not giving financial advice. I'm not giving legal advice. I'm not telling them how to read a P&L. I'm staying in my lane, but I'm also encouraging them to find and attract those people that can help them in those other areas.
I love it. I absolutely love it, Josh. It's been great having you on the show here today. If somebody wanted to reach out to you, where's the best places to find you or talk to you?
I'm most active on Instagram, and it's at the Tradesman Experience. And the website is thetradesmanexperience.com. Those are the best places. The email's on the website, which is thetradesmanexperience@gmail.com. All right. I like consistency. So yeah, but any of those platforms, I'm happy. I always respond to people.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here today and sharing everything with the champions today.
Ron, thank you for the opportunity again to be invited and hearing the quality of guests that you have. I feel really honored to be a part of that.
Well, we're honored to have you here. You definitely dropped some fire. So, all right, champions, a lot to unpack in this episode. I don't even know where to start, other than if your company sucks at something, you probably suck at that. And what do I say all the time? Look in the mirror. This is another prime example with a lot of things to go look in the mirror. What are you doing every night of the week that you probably shouldn't be, that your guys are doing because you do it? These are good questions to ask ourselves. I think we hit on some real, what would be considered out of the box topics for the construction industry. But for me, these are topics that's where I started seeing the biggest change, not just in my personal life, but in my professional life as well. So when I started to own who I am, I started to understand that if I'm unhealthy, I'm going to be unhappy no matter how successful I am. When I got those priorities together, that's when boxes started to get checked. I started to feel better about everything I was doing. And I know you can do the same. If you're not already doing it, do something out of your comfort zone. I loved when Josh said, take a 15-minute walk without your phone. Because, that's uncomfortable to begin with. And now I go hours without my phone on me intentionally because 15 minutes became comfortable. 30 minutes became comfortable. An hour became comfortable. So now it's, can I go out for the evening and not take it with me? Because if my loved ones are with me, does anybody really need to get a hold of me? So, champions, until next time, be the champion you were meant to be.